What do you do when she goes silent? You stop. You don't text. You don't call. You don't send a quick message to check in. In a world that tells you to chase what you want, this feels wrong. It feels like you're losing. But what if her silence isn't a sign of forgetting you? What if it's a sign that she is finally starting to remember you? Real detachment does not feel like a breakup. It feels like a space for reflection. It's when her mind has nothing to distract it from the truth. In those moments of quiet, she isn't moving on. She is replaying, contemplating, and asking herself if letting you go was a mistake. Today, we will explore why your calm silence is the most powerful move you can make. We will show you how to use this moment not to win her back, but to reclaim your peace and purpose, and in doing so, become a man who is unforgettable. Now, let's begin. The power of stillness. When you throw a stone into a still pond, you do not need to keep throwing more stones to make ripples. The first stone you dropped creates them on its own. The last meaningful interaction you had, that is the stone. Your calm, focused, and steady presence, that is the stone. The ripples are her thoughts, and they are spreading across her mind without you needing to do a thing. Most men make a critical mistake here. They see her silence as a problem they need to solve. They rush to interrupt the process. They send a text, they pick up the phone. They try to fix something that is not broken, but by doing this, they cut short the very moment when she is naturally thinking about them. They muddy the water before the ripples can even reach the shore. Marcus Aurelius said, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." His words hold a timeless truth. Your job is not to stress over what she is thinking or what she might do next. Your role is to remain steady, to live with intention, and to keep your mind focused on what you can control. You are in charge of your own peace, not her emotional state. Think about it. People do not lose sleep over someone who meant nothing to them. They do not lie awake at 2 a.m. replaying moments with someone they have forgotten. If she is lying there with her eyes open in the dark, wondering about you, that is not emptiness. That is emotional processing. Give her the space to feel that. Let her sit with her own questions. Let her confront her own thoughts. Perhaps she is wondering if she misjudged you. Maybe she is realizing she took your presence for granted. Or maybe she is seeing something powerful. You are not chasing. You are evolving. You are becoming a man who is calm, focused, and committed to his own life. This is the power of a disciplined life. Your mission is not to wait around staring at your phone. It is to build a life that makes you proud, whether she calls or not. It is to sharpen your mind, to strengthen your purpose, and to become the man you are meant to be. And when you do that, something interesting happens. When you stop worrying about whether she will reach out, that is often the exact moment when she does. The silence is where the true work is done. It is the time when her mind, no longer distracted by your constant contact, begins to work on its own. It is the quiet of the night, when the world is still, that her mind starts to loop back to the last time she saw you, the last thing you said, the last moment you shared. It is human nature. We all do it. Our minds return to what feels unresolved. She might not call because her pride holds her back. Her ego might tell her to stay quiet, but that does not mean you are not on her mind. In fact, the quiet often means you are taking up more space there than you realize. You are a part of her midnight loop. Those are the thoughts that visit when she is alone with herself, when no one is watching, and when no one is there to distract her from what is really going on inside. So, here is the real power move. You do not chase. You do not break your own peace trying to force her hand. You live well. You focus on your path. You stay calm in the silence, knowing that her late-night thoughts are not yours to control. They are hers to carry. And believe me, she is carrying them, the momentum of absence. Every day she thinks of you without talking to you, that emotional weight grows. That is momentum. Quiet momentum. It is like a snowball rolling downhill. Each day she holds back from calling. Each night she wonders but stays silent. That snowball picks up speed. And here is the thing most men forget. You are not supposed to interrupt it. You are not supposed to run up the hill and try to stop it. The more you chase, the more you break the very process that is working in your favor. A Stoic man knows this. He understands that emotions, just like energy, build over time when left alone. And this is especially true in silence. Think about it. She is not calling, but that does not mean she has forgotten you. Quite the opposite. Every night when the world goes quiet, when her distractions run out, she starts thinking about you again. That last conversation, the way you used to look at her, the way you did not beg when she pulled away, those thoughts keep circling back like a quiet loop playing in her mind, and the more nights that pass, the heavier that loop feels. Imagine you are standing still at the center of your own life while she is pacing back and forth in her mind. Should she call? Should she not? Should she break the silence? Or should she hold her pride? That emotional tension builds quietly but powerfully. The Stoics would call this letting nature take its course. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Her silence feels like a wall, but it is actually becoming the path that brings her back to you if you let it. The mistake most men make is trying to control the moment too soon. They break their own silence out of fear. They text first because they cannot handle the unknown. But the Stoic man understands the law of emotional momentum. He knows that patience is not just waiting, it is letting the emotional snowball do its work. Let it roll. Let it grow. Let her sit with the echoes of your absence. When she thinks of you at night, in those quiet moments when no one else is around, that's when momentum is building. She might not call yet, but you are on her mind, and every silent night adds weight to that thought. You can ignore a text, but you cannot ignore a memory. At 2 a.m., when the world is quiet and her room is dark, she is not scrolling through memes like she does during the day. No, this is different. This is when her mind starts playing back the moments you shared. The look in your eyes, the sound of your voice, the way you made her feel when you were not trying to impress her, but simply being present. That is what stays. Not the string of messages, not the clever replies. It's the energy you left behind. That is why it is so important to understand this. The memories you create in someone's life hold more power than the conversations you try to force after the connection fades. And right now, even though she is not calling, she is thinking quietly. In the background of her life, she is carrying those mental replays. The last date, the walk back to the car, the moment you pulled back, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. Marcus Aurelius said, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind." But here is the secret. The same applies to her. If you have lived well, treated her with genuine presence, and walked away without chasing, you have already planted seeds in her mind. Seeds that grow at night when the distractions fall away. When was the last time you remembered a text message word for word? Probably never. But you do remember how someone made you feel, especially when they leave in silence with dignity, without breaking their own inner peace. That is why your absence right now is louder than any message you could send. She might not pick up the phone tonight, but her mind will pick up the memory of you again and again. And the beauty of this, you do not have to do anything but continue living well. Keep becoming the kind of man who does not need to reach out just to soothe his ego. The kind of man who understands that what lingers in someone's memory is far more powerful than what lingers in their inbox. The gift of detachment. When you are too available, you become background noise. You become predictable and easy to tune out. It is not because she is a bad person, it is just how the human mind works. We get used to things that are always within reach. It is like leaving the TV on in the background all day. After a while, you stop noticing the noise. The same happens in relationships. If you are constantly present, always sending that good morning text, always asking how her day was, you slowly lose the element of surprise. You become part of her routine, and routines do not stir the heart. They calm it, sometimes to the point of indifference. But when you step back, when you stop calling, When you stop showing up in every notification, you create space, and space creates curiosity. Suddenly, you are no longer the guy who texts every morning. Now you are the guy she is wondering about late at night. The silence you leave behind is not empty, it is full of questions. Is he thinking about me? Did he move on? Did I lose him? That is when the mind starts looping, especially at night, when there is no noise to drown out the thoughts. She is not calling, but she is thinking about you. Her ego might be telling her, do not reach out, stay strong, do not look weak. But her heart is replaying the moments you shared, the sound of your voice, the way you looked at her, the times you made her feel seen. This is exactly where the Stoic path gives you the upper hand. A Stoic man understands the difference between chasing and allowing. He knows that attention loses its value when it is handed out too freely. He knows the power of restraint. Remember what Epictetus taught. We should not seek for things to happen as we wish them, but for things to happen as they do. In this case, that means letting her sit with the silence you have left, letting her reflect, letting her feel the gap. Have you ever noticed how a rare sunset or a once-a-year event holds more emotional weight than something you see every day? That is because scarcity creates value. And when you stop reaching out, when you pull back, not out of spite, but out of self-respect, you naturally become rare again. You are no longer the man who needs constant validation. You are the man who respects his own time, who lives with purpose, who lets people come to him when they are ready. That is why right now, she is probably lying in bed staring at her ceiling. She won't say it out loud. She might not text you tomorrow. But trust me, she is thinking about you because mystery stays. It lingers. It creates a gravity that pulls on her thoughts when the world finally goes quiet. And if you can stay grounded in your silence, if you can hold your line without giving in to impulse, you will realize something powerful. You are not losing her. You are letting her realize your worth on her own. Remember, this is not about disappearing from her. It is about reappearing in your own life. That is where most men get it wrong. They think silence is a tactic to punish her or some game to win back control. But real detachment is not about revenge. It is about realignment. It is about reminding yourself who you are when no one is calling, when no one is validating, when no one is feeding your ego. That is when your true self shows up or falls apart. She is not calling you right now, and maybe that stings a little. Maybe part of you wants to break the silence to check in, to get some emotional reassurance. But if you do that too soon, you interrupt a much more important process, the rebuilding of you. The truth is, you are not supposed to sit by the phone like it is a life support machine. You are supposed to get back to your life, to the version of you that existed before the overthinking, before the anxiety, before you let her attention become your source of oxygen. The path to inner peace. When you stop chasing, you create something rare, an emotional vacuum. And nature hates a vacuum. The moment you step back, her mind cannot help but fill in the silence. It starts asking questions. It starts building scenarios. Why did he go so quiet? Did he stop caring? Is he talking to someone else? These questions do not appear when you are constantly checking in. They do not exist when you are always the one reaching out first. But when you stop, when you shift from chasing to calmly waiting, that is when her mind starts looping you back into her thoughts. Especially at night, especially when the distractions fade. Imagine this. She is lying there at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling. The house is silent, the phone is still, and the world finally slows down. That is when your absence starts to echo. Not because you vanished out of anger or ego, but because you chose presence over pressure. You decided not to play the game of endless texting or trying to force connection. You chose calmness. And that calmness sends a louder message than any paragraph you could have written. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And right now, it is her imagination doing the heavy lifting. She is picturing you living your life, staying in your peace, not waiting by the phone. That mental image creates more emotional weight than a dozen calls ever could. The beauty of this is that you are not causing harm. You are not manipulating. You are simply respecting the natural flow of life. The Stoic man understands that attachment to control creates suffering, not just for you, but for her too. So instead of chasing her attention, you step back and let the silence do what words cannot. Most men panic in this space. They get uncomfortable with the quiet. They send that late-night text just to get a ping back, just to feel something. But the man who practices calm presence, he waits, not from pride, but from wisdom. He knows that what is real will return without being forced. He knows that emotional clarity comes in moments of stillness, not noise. So while she is not calling, do not assume you are forgotten. In fact, you are very present in her mind. She is thinking about you more now because of the space you have created, not in spite of it. Your calm energy is not passive, it is active patience. It is a quiet form of strength. And when a man learns to sit with that energy, he becomes unforgettable. Not because he tried to be, but because he allowed life to unfold on its own terms. And that is something else most men do not realize. When she goes silent, when the phone does not ring, when no message comes through, it is not always about punishing you or pushing you away. Sometimes she is just trying to see if she can live without you. She is sitting in her own private battle, wondering, can I move on? Can I let this go? It is not you she is testing. It is herself. This is where most men fall apart. They panic. They feel the silence and rush to fill it. They text too soon. They call late at night, thinking, if I just remind her I am still here, maybe she will stop pulling away. But in doing that, they break something sacred, their own value, their own position, their own calm. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't disturb yourself by imagining your whole life is in other people's hands." And this is exactly that moment. Her silence? That is her storm to face, her choice to process, her decision to sit in the dark and ask herself if she is really ready to let you go, or if she is just reacting from pride, fear, or confusion. Think about it like this. Imagine you are standing on the edge of a lake. The water is still, crystal clear. But if you start throwing stones, you will stir up the mud from the bottom. You will make it cloudy. That is what happens when you jump in too soon. When you chase, when you interrupt her emotional process before it is ready to settle. Let her test her strength. Let her feel the silence. Let her wonder. That is not cold. It is respectful. It is you understanding the law of emotional gravity. When you stop pulling, the other person either drifts away or they come back naturally on their own terms. So, if she is not calling tonight, do not assume it is over. Do not assume it is a game. Understand that it is part of her internal test. And you stay grounded. Stay still. You do not need to remind her of your presence. Your calm energy is already doing that. The truth is, you are not supposed to sit by the phone like it is a life support machine. You are supposed to get back to your life, to the version of you that existed before the overthinking, before the anxiety, before you let her attention become your source of oxygen. Epictetus said it best. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. So who do you want to be right now? A man who waits for a text, or a man who uses this silence as fuel? Think about it. This is not just about her. This is about your character, your discipline, your future. If you choose wisely, you will realize this moment of no contact is actually a gift. It is giving you the space to focus on the things you have neglected, your fitness, your mind, your purpose, that project you have been putting off. The version of you that looks back 6 months from now will either thank you or regret you, depending on what you do right now. The Stoic man does not resent silence. He welcomes it because in the quiet, he hears his own thoughts more clearly. He stops living in someone else's emotional orbit and starts building his own gravity. So the next time you wonder why she is not calling, remind yourself. Silence is not always rejection. Sometimes it is just reflection. And when you master your own mind, you will realize you do not need her to call to feel valuable. because you have already answered the most important call, the one to yourself. So, take a second and drop a comment below. What is one thing you are focusing on right now to build your inner peace? I will see you in the next one. Stay stoic.